Hi guys. So I've not really gone into this much. We all know about the recession that we're going into, and I've had a few people talk to me actually about a couple that said about Freemasonry, and one person said that he had a friend, his friend's dad, his best friend's dad, before he died, told his own son that he's sorry for what is to come, and he's sorry that we're living in the times that we are, because it's going to be the worst time to be a human being, if you're not the elite. Now, they say we're going into a recession, but I tell you what, it's not a recession. We're going into something far more sinister. We're actually going into something called the Great Depression. And what it is what they're doing. The first start of it was obviously the COVID, which is bullshit anyway. And what they did was they locked the world down. They shut the world down, shut the economies down. And obviously, the first phase of it was businesses started closing. People losing their jobs, relying on the state. That was the first phase. We're now heading into the second phase, which they're calling the recession. So more businesses will go. Food shortages. It's the start of the second phase. The second phase, which is food shortages. So factories and are getting cases closing down. You see it in California, in Oregon, all the fires taking place, burning all the crops, and this is only the beginning, because eventually we're going to head into something called the Great Depression, which is coming, which was in the 1930s, but I think it's going to be the biggest depression. It's going to even be a bigger depression than that, and that is going to be the rollout of their depopulation agenda, to depopulate the world. They haven't started it properly yet, but we'll probably get the feel of that, I would say, probably next year. So there'll be food shortages around the world. People will be going hungry. Even in Britain, in America, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, Canada, France, wherever, right? It's coming to every country. People will be starving. They won't be able to have food because there'll be food shortages. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna crash the economy completely, bring down the economy, crash it, bring it to its knees, and that'll be the start of the Great Reset, I would say. Watch Max Egan, a few others will talk about that as well. We've had someone from Dragon's Den come out. I think it was what was her name, Rachel from Dragon's Den. She's come and talked out. She's spoken out about it. I don't know if she's part of it. It's just a plan, but she's spoken out that it's a government plan agenda. And what it is, and then it'll be the rollout. What they're doing is they're going to lock us down, all these countries down, right? Our country, in Britain and America, everywhere. And they're going to have curfews. Now, they've got the curfews in Australia at the moment, and they're rolling out the 5G technology, which is mass surveillance technology that's been rolling out, and it's new technology that we've probably never even seen before. And that is the start of, I think, of a new social credit system that's taking place. And Max Egan did a video on it. He said it was going to be rolled out by 2025. That's the date. I think he said March the 31st for some reason, 2025. Now, I don't know how true that is. But yeah, it's what it is. They've closed the world down. They're going to blame this on the recession. And then what they're going to do is there's going to be natural disasters, what the so-called natural disasters that destroy the crops, the food supplies, close down food factories because of COVID cases, and then it's going to be shortage of food, and eventually it's going to head into a depression, and then that'll be the Great Reset, crash the currency altogether, and come up with a new currency, a digital currency. Even the person in Dragon's Den, the Rachel, said that there's going to be nanotechnology in the vaccine. So yeah, it's all coming out, guys. We are not. It's only the beginning. It's very dark times ahead, and this is why we need to turn the tables. Because this is what we're heading into, Great Depression, and it's bleak. I've read about it. Absolutely bleak. You know, we're going to be seeing, I reckon, if from what I've seen, what I've read, starving people on the streets. It's not good. You know, we can't just think this is okay. This is really, really not okay, what they're doing. So yeah. Yeah, call me a fearmonger or whatever, you know. But we've got to look at all angles as well. I like to be hopeful, you know. But when you see it all, what's going on and what their agenda is, it's disgusting. It's horrible. It is. And they need to be fucking exposed for what they are. You know. So we had the economic depression in the 30s. I mean, look at this. Is this what you want for your kids, your families? And it's going to be worse, I think, than the 1930s depression because they want a new currency altogether. It's not a recession. I think it's going to be the biggest, and that's what's going to. That's how one way they're going to depopulate the world. That is their part of their depopulation agenda, is to starve people to death. They'll try and do it as subtle as possible, but yeah, it's and you look at how people, when we search it, right? You look at how people are. You know? Alright? Just search something. Search it on images. Not Great Recession, Great Depression. It's not very nice. Because our quality of life is going to drop drastically. And it's not going back to how it was. So people that think it's going to go back to how it was, it's not. So there's two ways we can look at this, right? We can try and do I don't know what the fuck we're going to do, but try to fucking push against this and turn it around. You know? And then, if we win, we get freedom like we've never seen before, ever, in history. Or they win and our quality of life changes. Because when the Great Depression happens and we live through the Great Depression and the new currency comes out, people are going to be begging for this new currency. They're going to think it's great because, you know, it's going to be, people are going to be living on less, earning less, eating less everything, less electricity, less everything. Everything's going to be less. But when I think if the Great Depression comes, it's going to be so horrible that when this new technology comes out and the new currency changes or whatever in 2025, that it's going to, you know, everyone's going to want it. Everyone's going to think it's such a good thing. Even though quality of life way before the Great Depression was better, even though it wasn't a top because we was never free. But you know, they're going to make it so horrible that people are going to want to go to this new system. And it all makes sense when you look at that fucking DJ website, which are targets, which I think are targets. I've spoke to a few people. I think it was Dolo I spoke to, and he said the same, like targets. We cannot take this fucking lightly. Thanks, guys.